Well, look who it is. That's right, it's me. And before I start this video, I want to state the obvious, and that is that yes, my hair does look different, and yes, it is a lot shorter. And the reason for this is because yesterday I went and got my hair done. Now, the reason why I got it a lot shorter is because my hair is like all the way down to here, maybe longer, and it was just a mess to deal with because it had a lot of dead ends at the bottom, and it was just a mess to deal with because it was so long. And the reason why I got it cut shorter is because it looks a lot healthier now, and it just is a lot easier to deal with. So, this video is going to be my last video for my series called Things You Need to Know About College. Now, if you missed any of my other videos to this series, you can check them out in my playlist called Things You Need to Know About College and watch all those videos in my series. Now, this video is going to be some of my, I guess you can call them tips, but they're like tips and suggestions on what you should do your first couple of days you get to school and your first week of school. Because I know freshmen, and a lot of freshmen are so excited to get away from their parents and start living without their parents because they think they can do whatever they want when they're away from their parents, and they just go crazy. But I do not want you guys to be like that, because those type of people end up doing crazy things like going to parties and doing stupid things like drinking. They end up doing drugs. They just end up doing things that they shouldn't do because they were not allowed to do this when they were at home because of their parents, but now they're away from their parents. They think they can do whatever they want. So, my suggestions and tips will make sure that you don't end up like that if you're going to be a freshman, or maybe you're going to be an upperclassman, and you still act like that. These tips and suggestions are going to be so you don't end up like that and end up getting kicked out of school, or just end up hurting yourself and just don't end up doing well in school. So, without further ado, let's just jump right on into the video. So my first suggestion is that when you first get up to school after you've moved in, like let's say you moved in on a Saturday, do not, and a lot of freshmen were doing this, and I did not because I'm not this type of person, but they were so excited they were away from their parents and they didn't have to deal with their parents telling them what to do. So they went crazy, and they went to parties, they would drink a lot, and maybe they did drugs, I don't know. Maybe some did, but I don't know. So do not be like that, because that's not going to do you any good, because you'll just end up getting sick. You'll end up missing your first day of class, for some of your classes, and you'll just end up not doing well in school. So do not your first couple of days, maybe your first week, go to a bunch of parties and do drugs and drink a lot of alcohol, because that will not do you any good. Now, my first tip for something you can do is I suggest the day before your first day of classes is print out your schedule. If you're a freshman, and this goes along with if you're an upperclassman, print out your schedule of when you have your classes at what time. That way you have it for the next day, so you're not trying to go online right before your classes start and try to figure out when they are and what building they are. So print that out, and then also if you are a freshman and don't really know the campus, print out a map to the school, so that way your first day of classes and your first week of classes, you can look at that as you're trying to get to your classes, and you'll know which way to go to each building. Now, another suggestion I have that goes along with what I just said is the day before your first day of classes, go with, let's say, your roommate or your friend that goes to the school as well. Walk around the campus with them the day before you start your classes. That way you familiarize yourself with the campus, and you find out what every classroom building is. And actually at my school, the buildings for the classrooms are actually open. You can go inside. And I suggest if your school's like that, go inside and find out what floor, and maybe find out where your classroom is going to be for all your classes. That way, your first day and your first week of classes, you won't be in a panic when you have to go to your classes, because you know where they are and you know what building they're in and you know exactly where they are. Because I know some people don't do this and they panic their first day of class because they don't know where they're going, so they end up being late to class. So do not end up like that. Make sure the day before your classes start, walk around campus, find out where all the classroom buildings are, go inside the buildings if you can, if the doors aren't locked to the buildings, and find out what floor and where your classes are. And that is a huge tip I suggest you do. That way you're not as nervous your first week and first day of classes. And I do this every year now. I haven't been in college that long, but my first semester, my second semester of college, for my freshman year, I did this and it really helped me out. So I do suggest you do this. Now another do not do your first week of classes is do not skip class your first week. Because you may still be like, oh, it's still summer. Because you will be going back to school in August. You say, other people may think, oh, it's still summer, so I don't have to go to class because it's still summer. But your classes have started. And just because it's August does not mean you shouldn't go to school. Your classes have started, so go to class, because you don't want to miss your first couple days of classes, because those days are very important, because that shows the teacher that you care about their class, want to do well in their class, and you're interested in the class. So don't miss your first days of classes, your first week. So don't sleep in your first week and be late to classes. And don't skip class for no reason at all. If you're sick, that's one thing. But if you're not sick, don't sleep in and don't skip your classes for no reason at all. Now another don't that I suggest for you guys is don't wait till the last minute to study for your tests and exams and your quizzes, because that doesn't do you any good, because in college the coursework is a lot harder than it was in high school, so you're going to have to spend more time studying for tests, exams, and for quizzes, because it's going to be a lot harder than they were in high school. Because in high school you might have been able to study like 2 days before your test or maybe a day before your test and still get a good grade. But in college it doesn't work like that. So be sure to set aside some time to study ahead of time for your tests, quizzes, and exams. And my suggestion is you study either a week before your test, quiz, or exam, or 2 weeks before your test, quiz, or exam. That way or 3 weeks, however early you want to start. That way you're really super prepared for your test, quiz, or exam, and you'll know that you'll be confident that you're going to get a good grade. So, another don't is do not do your homework in college. Because one thing about college is that the professors will assign you homework or reading, and they won't necessarily be like high school where they check it and you turn it in the next day after class. That's not how college works. The professor will give you, let's say you have to read from page 50 to page 70, and then they'll give you a quiz the next day on it. But they won't tell you. It'll be a pop quiz. They won't tell you. So make sure you do your reading and your homework for your classes, because that way when you go to the class the next day, if you have any questions on the reading, you can ask the professor. And if you do the reading for your classes, then it's kind of like studying. If you do the reading for your classes, you'll know more and you'll feel more confident about the class, and when the test comes you'll be like, oh yeah, I remember reading that in my textbook. And here's a tip for when you are reading in your textbook is to take notes. And the way you should take notes is take notes on vocabulary and anything that you think is important about the chapter. So take notes about the main idea of the chapter, take notes about the vocabulary, and just summarize the chapter in your own words. Now, a tip to make this easier is in the beginning of each chapter, it gives you a list of objectives of what you should learn in the chapter. So my suggestion is to read over what you should learn in the chapter, and as you're reading the chapter, try to find those suggestions and those tips in the chapter and write those down. And what I also suggest you do is in some books they have like a summary at the end of the chapter of what the chapter was about. I suggest you read that, and in your own words so you can understand it, write a summary for the chapter. That way when it comes time for you to take a test or a quiz on that chapter, you can just read the summary and read the vocabulary and read what you should have learned in the chapter, and you'll be good to go and you'll ace that quiz or test. Now, here is another suggestion that you should do for your first couple of days in your first week of college, and that is that you should get to know your professors. And by doing that, it'll help your professors get to know you better, and they'll know that you're interested in the class. Now, one way to do this is you can just walk up to your professor after class and introduce yourself and be like, hi, I'll do an example for me. Let's say my professor's name is Professor Butterfly. Professor Butterfly. So let's say you walk up to Professor Butterfly and you're like, hi, my name is Vicky Creedle, and I want to be one of your students in this class, and I just wanted to introduce myself to you so you know that I'll be in this class and that I'm very interested in your class. And that'll surprise the teacher because a lot of students don't do that, and they'll really know that you care about their class. Or if you're not comfortable doing that, then just email your teacher and be like, oh, can I meet you can I meet you someday this week so I can get to know you and ask you some questions about the class, like about tests and quizzes and all that. And they'll say yes, most likely, and then they'll know that you're interested in the class and you want to do well in that class. So that is a huge tip, is to introduce yourself to your professors, because that way they'll know that you're interested in the class and want to do well in their class, and they'll know who you are in their class and not just another face in their class, and they'll know when you go for help who you are, and if you ask questions they'll know who you are. So that is a huge tip I suggest you do your first couple of days in your first week of college. Now another tip for what you should do your first week and first couple of days of college is to start studying right away for your classes. Now a lot of people don't do this, and I'm a culprit. I don't do this, but if you start right away studying for your classes, the minute the teachers start teaching you something after that class, if you have time, start studying for that class. That way, when you have an exam coming up or a test, you already have been studying a little bit before you found out about the test, and you won't have to study as much once you find out when the test or quiz is. So that is a big tip, and a lot of teachers tell you this, and a lot of students don't do this. But I suggest you do this because it helps a lot, and it makes it so you don't have to study as much when it comes time for the test or quiz or exam. So please do that because it is a huge help, and it will help you achieve the grades. Now, another don't that you shouldn't do in college is don't get too involved in like a sorority or a club, because if you're too involved in a sorority or a club, you might end up slipping in your grades because you'll be too involved in that activity, and you'll end up getting kicked out of that activity because you have to keep good grades to be in a sorority or a club and stuff. So don't get too invested in a club or sorority if it takes up too much of your time, or they schedule some of their activities or events or whatever when you have class or when you should be studying. Then you shouldn't do that activity, because the most important thing about college is your grades, and grades are the most important thing about school in general. So don't let your grades slip just because you're in a sorority or you're on the football team. Don't let that happen. So those are some of my suggestions on what you should and shouldn't do your first couple of days in your first week of college. So my dance video for this week, which I don't know if I really like this video because the dancing isn't the best, but I thought the video was very funny, so I think you guys will think it's funny. And it is called High School Dance Battle Mascot Showdown. And it's basically about two rival schools' mascots doing a dance battle against each other. And I thought it was really funny because the dancing the mascots did was so funny. So hope you guys check out this video, and I'll put the link to it in my description box down below so you guys can check it out and find out why I thought it was so funny. Now my quote for this video is, "Around here we don't look backwards for very long. We keep moving forward, opening new doors and doing new things because we're curious. And curiosity keeps leading us down new paths," by Walt Disney. Now the reason why I chose this quote is because I think it is perfect for just school in general and for college. Because in college, you're going to be taking a bunch of classes and learning a bunch of new things. So you're going to be opening new doors to learn new things and to just broaden your horizon. And you'll have a bunch of curiosity in school and in college. College is school, basically, but anyhow. You have a lot of curiosity because you want to learn everything and anything when you're in school. So that is why I chose this quote for this video. So I hope you guys check out my other videos to this series called Things You Need to Know About College. Just check them out in my playlist, and this video will be added to that playlist after I upload it naturally and stuff. So don't forget to check out my other videos to this series. So don't forget to like this video by giving it a thumbs up, a big thumbs up, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed.